Good morning and welcome to the Frontiers of Knowledge segment of Dr. Lamba's Awakening. Every day, our scientists, our researchers discover something new and add to our knowledge. Could you have ever believed that there will be a planet that orbits not one star but three stars? This is something amazing that one planet encircling three stars simultaneously. It goes from A to B, makes one circle, then it goes to B, another circle, then it goes to C, and then comes back to A. This is just like our Earth encircling Sun, going to Neptune, going to Mercury, and then again to Sun. And this star is now called GWORE, which is 1,300 light years away from the Earth. This is the first planet to orbit not one or two, but three circles, stars. This is amazing. And this has been seen by the powerful Atacama sub-millimeter array telescope in Chile. The scientists observed a dust ring, which is important to the planet formation around the three stars in the distant horizon. And they were puzzled. And that encouraged them to study what is the reason that it is doing it. As a matter of fact, they have been theorizing and they were thinking it's hypothetical. But now they have seen that this is something which is really there, and the credit goes to a student, Jeremy Smallwood. He discovered it, and then he talked to his supervisor, and then they found that this is a reality. As a matter of fact, if a star can encircle and circumambulate against three stars simultaneously, there is something which is escaping the scientists. The implications are that this can happen. If it can happen with one star, it can happen to the other. And if that happens, what shall be the consequences of the Earth? If Earth starts behaving the same way, that means the climates would change. That means the day and night would change, and the whole concept of time would undergo. This was puzzling, but then another news came. Moon is leaving the Earth, and you can't stop it. Now, you would say, well, how can it leave the Earth? It's a satellite of the Earth and it encircles the Earth. But that's a fact. Every year, Moon moves away distinctively away from the Earth. Of course, tiny bit. It's not much, but still moving. It moves away from the Earth every year 1.5 inch. Naturally, you can say it doesn't matter, but it does matter. And the scientists have observed that in the last few million years, the tide pattern has changed. And if this thing continues, they would change still further. The oceans themselves would change. The forces of gravity, as a matter of fact, are invisible and unshakable. They'll keep on nudging the moon along. And over other millions of the years, will continue to go apart. The moon was formed originally 4.7 billion years ago. It was molded out of the rocky debris that had been floating around the Earth. It orbited 10 times nearer the Earth than it does today. So 10 times the distance, the circulation has changed. And naturally with that changes the whole thing. How did the debris come across, you might ask? They came from a collision between the Earth and a mysterious Mars-sized object. It happened, moon was formed. But at that time, millions of years ago, the moon was moving away from the Earth at the rate of 8 inches per year. And undoubtedly, the distance between the moon and the Earth is increasing. The impact on the oceans, as I said, on the geography, on the lunar and the solar eclipse would of course be there. But still, what is still more important is, and which is ignored by the scientists, is the impact on the kids. The fairy tales in India, they call moon the maternal uncle. Now, in an ocean-covered planet like Earth, the effect shows, as I said earlier, in the shifting tides. The moon pulls at our oceans, but those oceans pull back, making the moon speed up in its orbit. So if you speed up while orbiting Earth, you are escaping Earth more successfully, and your orbit is at an increasing distance. The scientists call this lunar retreat. It's a delightful term, of course. I prefer to imagine the moon enjoying itself in a relaxing getaway, bending its rocky body into various yogic poses, rather than slowly ghosting Earth. And how was it measured? It was measured, this retreat of moon away from the Earth, by beaming lasers at mirrors that the Apollo astronauts left on the moon. And the scientists used that data along with other sources to estimate the past moment. The constant retreat has influenced Earth beyond the tides. Tide is one. The forces that draw the moon away from us are slowing down the Earth's planet's rotation. And the result? The days are getting longer and longer. In the beginning, when the moon was nearer Earth, a day lasted only for 4 hours, never more than 4 hours. Imagine it. And now, you know it. It would take a century. But after a century, the days are going to be much longer, and the sleep patterns would be affected. As a matter of fact, there's a movie coming up called Moonfall, and that shows that some 600 millions away, the moon will orbit far enough from the humankind, and the result would be we'll lose the oldest cosmic sight I referred to earlier. There'll be no solar eclipse. The moon won't be able to block the sun's light and cast its shadow onto the earth. And if that happens, what happens to those, people? In India, at least I know, solar eclipse is a major, major event. And people go to the Ganges all the time to have a bath and things like that. So those ceremonies would be a thing of past. And then coming to our normal life, away from this, are you aware that on an average, about 20 million people in the world have Alzheimer's? And between 2000 and 2019 alone, the degenerative condition called Alzheimer's increased 145%. Now, how to cure it is an enigma. But much more important than curing is how to prevent it. Because there is no definitive cure for Alzheimer's, and affects 1 in 9 adults over the age of 65. So the important thing is how to protect ourselves from it, how to ensure that we don't get it. And here comes in a herb which in India is worshipped, basil, tulsi. Now this herb has some ingredients that can ward off, delay the onset of Alzheimer's. It's a new study published in the Aging Neuroscience. I was looking at it day before yesterday. Then they say this herb contains a chemical, a naturally occurring compound, and that is fenanyl. Now, fenanyl is a protective step that, if taken consumed, would prevent Alzheimer. The University of South Florida Health Services found that among a group of 15 compounds, phenyl was the most effective at binding to and activated cell signaling molecules. They are free from fatty acid receptor 2, and which is expressed on neurons in the brain. They did the experiments on the animals, and it was seen that the animals using phenyl had increased E4 signals, thus reducing the level of the protein linked to the development of Alzheimer. It lowered the rate of the neuron death, reduced the number of the neuron cells which are killed, the zombie cells. So the old Indian practice of taking tulsi, basil, has some logic in it. I've seen some people who say they were suffering from cancer and it didn't cure, but then the people got a bit better. As a matter of fact, in India, tulsi is almost worshipped in many households. But its being a preventive for Alzheimer is really a boon. And then comes the healthy, sweet solution for the sugar. Diabetes calls for cutting down on sugar, which is difficult. And the ingredient in the prevalent in everything from cereals to soft drinks, even healthy foods like fruit and honey. And once it accumulates in the body, it has adverse effects. It causes obesity, heart, liver, skin problems. But here comes a food tech startup. Of course, nowhere else except in Israel it can happen. They have made a product called Arnai, and the people who don't believe a need to cut sweetness can take it. They have developed a sweetener, not like aspartame or saccharine, but this sweetener has 100% protein that is generated through biotechnology methods. It mimics the taste of sugar, 100% protein. So the gap between the proteins that exist in nature are unstable, and the needs of the mass food market has been bridged. What happens is that these amide proteins basically usually live in low temperature or low acidity. And in order to move them to the mass market, food market, you need to ensure that they have a long life. So they have developed this method whereby the food is adapted, the protein is adapted to the environment, both hot and cold. And the beauty is there are 200 such sweet proteins available. And some of those proteins are in the tears that we shed. As a matter of fact, the tears are hyper sweet, 3 times sweeter than sugar. If you taste them, they appear salty, but inside they are proteins, which if they separated. Now these hyper sweet proteins are located in equatorial belt from Malaysia through West Africa. And this bounty of nature was not known, but people used to use it. but they could not last forever. So what this startup has done is that they have started using biotechnology to enhance the life of those proteins. According to the scientists, they say they have created this protein like a necklace of beads of amino acid. These are digested just like other proteins. They are safe. There are no potential allergic responses, and they activate the sweet receptor in oral cavities like others. And then imagine this protein in its purest form is 16,000 times sweeter than sugar. So maybe the people who have a sweet tooth like me and still have the problems, this would be a scientist sent opportunity or a boon. And then, we see that glaucoma is a problem facing millions of people. Today, 140 million people in the world suffer from glaucoma, which is a degenerative eye disease, and it is prevalent among the people aged 60 and above. People use eye drops or laser surgery, but the surgery is very cumbersome, very uncomfortable. So here comes in another Israeli startup, Belkin Laser. So they have developed an alternative laser treatment, and guided by sophisticated image processing software, it can be offered, this surgery can be offered by any ophthalmologist. You don't have to be a specialist. As a matter of fact, they say that even non-physician optometrists, those who fit your glasses, can perform it. And this would cure, this laser, in 15 seconds, the glaucoma is cured. Now, how far is this experiment going to be really worthwhile has yet to be seen. But one thing is sure, that the test they have conducted in the last 1 year, they say that they have cured about 5,000 people who were volunteers. And what happens is that the eyes are constantly producing a small amount of aqueous humor. So it has to be drained out. In glaucoma, what happened? It doesn't drain out. There is a mesh network, a spongy tissue located in the colored part of the eye. So when it becomes clogged up, glaucoma can develop. This laser surgery, known as SLT, selective laser trabecoplasty, involves contact with the eye for about 10 minutes. And the doctor places a large lens against the eye, rotates it to fire 100 laser beams simultaneously. And those 100 laser beams in 15 seconds cure you. The whole process is 10 minutes. The cure is 15 minutes. Could anything be better for the millions of the people? Let's hope new things come up and the people have more healthy, happier life. But these facts of nature and human ingenuity keep on widening our horizon and our vision. Thank you.